If you were to ask me what I think the most important thing you can do personally in terms of your personal development to put yourself on a track to becoming the best version of yourself, what would that be? However you like to frame that in your own mind, whether it's becoming fully self-actualized, whether it's achieving full self-mastery, mental mastery, emotional mastery, physical mastery, or whether it's just you as the most evolved version of yourself. What's the most important thing you can do? Well, the clue is in the title of the video, so let's talk about it. Hey everybody, I just wanted to let you know that this video is one lesson in a 9-part success course that you'll find over at rickellis.com. To me, this is the blueprint for how to live a fulfilling life of purpose. It's how I live my life. And so if you like content like this, head on over there. I've got some jiu-jitsu instructionals. I've got the success course. I've got some life coaching resources. And my plan is to continue adding content over there in the coming weeks and months. And of course, if you like content like this, like and subscribe, and I appreciate your support very much. So we all have bullshit. We all have it, and we need to let it go. What is bullshit? It's anything that prevents you from becoming the best version of yourself. It's anything that's a stumbling block to you achieving full self-mastery. It can be self-limiting thoughts. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. It can be insecurities that keep festering. It can be self-limiting beliefs that put a cap on how far you think you can go. It can be emotions, maybe from your childhood, repressed emotions, stuff you're shoving down. Well, that's all bullshit. It can be certain behaviors that you exhibit under certain triggering conditions. Maybe those have their origin in childhood as well. Well, that's bullshit. It can be things about yourself physically that you don't like, and those things keep you in this state where you just don't feel you're good enough. Well, that's all bullshit too. It's anything that's a stumbling block to you becoming the best version of yourself, right? It can be your refusal to let go of past relationships, maybe failed relationships. If you have a folder full of photographs of your ex and mementos of your ex that you keep looking at, well, that keeps you stuck in this loop. Well, that's bullshit too, and you need to let that go. Maybe it's fear of the unknown. Maybe it's fear of failure. If you have fear of failure, well, that's a huge impediment to you becoming the best version of yourself, because everything worthwhile in life requires risk. And when you have fear of failure, you're risk intolerant. And that's bullshit. It can be guilt. It can be regret. It can be shame. And look, there's nothing wrong with feeling emotions. I'm not saying that emotions are bad. In fact, I disagree with this idea that there are good emotions and there are bad emotions. There are positive emotions and there are negative emotions. Emotions simply are. And as human beings, we should be free to feel the full range of emotions. According to the researchers at UC Berkeley, there's 27 emotions, and we should be able to feel them all. Where it's a problem is when that emotion keeps coming back, when it gets stuck in a loop, when it becomes a replay of that old rerun that you can't get past. Then the emotions become suffering. That's what you don't want. You don't want to suffer. Pain doesn't cause suffering. Emotions don't cause suffering. Your circumstances in life certainly don't cause suffering. What causes suffering is your intolerance of the circumstances in your life, or your intolerance of the emotions. And so they keep coming back. That's what you don't want, and that's what it means to have bullshit, and you need to let that go. The best analogy I can think of for this process of removing all the things from our life that are impediments is that of a sculptor. Think about a sculptor maybe making a face or a head, regardless of the medium, bronze, wood, stone, marble. What's the first thing the sculptor does? They begin hacking off the big chunks that are not the essence of that beautiful thing they're trying to create. You can think of it as them hacking off the big bullshit. And then over time, the material they're taking off is less and less. The tooling gets finer, the chisels get smaller. They're taking off smaller and smaller pieces of material that aren't the essence of that thing. And eventually they're just sanding, just making small detail changes to that thing. Well, that's the process of letting go of our bullshit. A lot of people walk through the world thinking they're broken. They're fundamentally broken. I'm messed up, man. I got all that crap from my childhood and I'm broken. No, nobody's broken. Nobody's broken. What you are is trapped in this block, and just like the sculptor, you need to begin hacking off all the things that aren't the essence of the authentic you. The goal should be authenticity. What is authenticity? Authenticity is when you are totally at peace with yourself. You are content with yourself. You accept yourself. Doesn't mean you're satisfied. You have more to do, more to achieve, things to do, but you're simply content in the now. Why? Because your thoughts, your behaviors, and your emotions are congruent with the core you, with with your base personality, with your values, with your spirit. That's what it means to be authentic. In my view, authenticity is one of the greatest goals we can achieve as humans, along with full self-mastery. Mastery of our emotions, mastery of our thoughts, mastery of our physical reality. Because when you achieve that, now you've given yourself a chance of becoming the best version of yourself. That's what we want. Bullshit is just an impediment because it holds power over you. It holds power over you, which prevents you from using the totality of your creative life force in a direction that helps you. You're applying energy in negative directions. You're stuck in old patterns, right? And it can be anything. It can be your perfectionism. It can be your holding on to your misfortunes. It can be anything that's an impediment to you becoming the best you. So the question is this: how do we let go of our bullshit? Well, the first thing you need to do is this. If you have not spent any time in that thing that's a problem, getting to know that thing, let's say you've got some repressed emotions that you keep shoving down, if you haven't spent any time in there, the first thing you need to do is go in there and get to know that thing. You need to walk up the ladder, walk to the edge of the diving board, dangle your feet off and dive into the deep end of the pool, into that thing, so that you begin understanding it. You analyze it, you feel it, you think about where it came from, you get to the bottom of why you have this thing. That's stage one. Then once you do that, you need to make peace with it. You need to make peace with that thing. What do I mean by making peace with it? Well, it means you have to accept it. You have to accept it unconditionally, with no judgment whatsoever. Accept it. You accept it because it simply is. Right now, in this moment, in the present, that thing that you don't like about yourself exists. And there's nothing you can do about it in this exact moment in the present. Therefore, you need to accept it unconditionally so that you can reclaim the power it has over you. Okay? You have to accept it. And more broadly, you have to accept everything about yourself. We are all a mixed bag between spectacular and tragic. Accept it all, because that's the precursor for you having self-love. If you don't love yourself, you might not even accept yourself. So you accept it. That's how you make peace with it. And look, acceptance doesn't mean approval. Acceptance doesn't mean you approve of these things in your life. It just means that you're letting go of the past that doesn't exist anymore, that only exists in your own mind. You're letting go of that. You're letting go of the future. The future doesn't exist except in some aspirational sense, or in some sense that causes you anxiety or uncertainty and so on. That doesn't exist either. All that exists is the present moment. And when you accept yourself fully
and unconditionally, it allows you to be in the present so that you can then move yourself forward in a positive direction. So you go in there, you understand it, you make peace with it, and then you let it go. That's the process. Sometimes you have to do that process multiple times. We have stuff in our life that can be real sticky, especially if it's from childhood. It's like that piece of gum on the black asphalt on a summer day and you step in it, there is no getting that off your shoe. Sometimes those things in your life you've let go, but they come back. Here's the thing, they'll never come back as powerful as they did the first time. Sometimes the first time you went through the process, you got a handle on it, but you didn't really understand it. Sometimes there are dimensions to this thing. There are details and dimensions that it takes subsequent processes of work to get to the bottom of. It's like that old expression, the teacher will keep reappearing until the student finally learns the lesson. And so it's okay if that thing comes back, it'll be weaker. And then you let it go. And eventually it's like the sculptor. You're just making fine-tuning adjustments to that thing. You might have something that never goes away. I've got stuff from my childhood, that stuff's never gonna go away. But it doesn't have power over me anymore. It doesn't affect me in the least anymore. Sometimes it comes in and you feel it in your gut a little bit. You're like, oh yeah, I remember you. But it doesn't have power because that's what you want, to reclaim all that life force, all that creative energy so that you can become fully authentic and you can achieve full self-mastery. So, take an assessment of your life, figure out where all the bullshit is, begin prioritizing it, and begin letting it go.